there is this vacuum in contemporary hip hop.
Yeah.
Especially
Stardom
has changed. Rap is in many, many different little niches, and they are not that often working their way back into the mainstream, at least this year or for the last couple of years.
Certainly not in the way that things used to happen.
Or even like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. And okay, so we're sitting here, Jack Harlow's Lovin' On Me, which we talked about a couple episodes ago. It did make its way to the top of the Billboard Hot 100.
Did what it was supposed to do.
Doja Cat has some big rap songs this year.
We perceive them as big rap songs. I don't know if the universe perceives them as big rap songs.
They are popular songs, and they are also rapping if you listen closely.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they are rap songs. If you have to acknowledge that they are popular. Yes.
And then there's this guy Drake, who we've talked about. He was, one of the people hogging up all the oxygen in our conversation about pop music.
Yep.
He remains one of the people hogging up all the oxygen when we talk about rap music.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But then we did the same thing we did with the pop charts. We took a scroll down the Billboard.
Yeah.
And I want to just run through some names for you.
I would love to hear them.
Okay, you got Lovin' On Me by Jack Harlow. You got Doja Cat, SZA, Drake, Gunna, same song all year.
Yep.
You have Tyla, Water, Drake. There's only a couple names on here
that are
not the obvious
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore of contemporary rap music. Travis Scott is on here with that song I Know, which is like the fakest of all fake rap hits.
Yeah.
That Doechii track we talked about with Kodak.
Mm-hmm.
Nicki Minaj, Barbie Girl. I mean, like all like this
remakes. Also, like the perniciousness of remakes.
Like we are stuck.
Yeah,
we are stuck. The name on here the most times who is not Drake. It's a guy by the name of Rod Wave. The most popular rapper in America is a singer.
Yes, absolutely right. Rod Wave. I don't love the new album as much as the previous albums. Like the Turks and Caicos song, I really think is not right.
That's the one with 21 Savage.
Yeah,
that's on here.
Yeah, it's not that good.
Girls all over the world. Love. She's a real deal diva, more than an Instagram model. Bad bitches love reposado, drinking out a bottle. I don't usually try and shoot no shots, but I can pass on her.
Last 3 Rod Wave albums prior to this, I think are all like minimum B+. Like some of them A- and A. Like Rod Wave is, I think, a really, you talk about pain rap to the degree that that's a thing. Youngboy, Rod Wave, etc.
Some Dirk,
yeah. Like Rod Wave, I obviously is the purest singer out of that group. I think in a lot of the early stuff that I was writing about him, there's a lot of blues. It's like it feels like as close as you can get to contemporary blues.
Right.
Is Rod Wave
with like No Cap up there.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's weird. I think this album is the one where he's like a little bit more like, what if I made like a slightly more? It's like Mary J. Blige like making positive records, and people were like, what? That's weird.
You consider this a positive Rod Wave album?
Well, it's like
relatively
it's inching in that direction. Yeah. Yes, I think with Rod Wave, like 10 to 20% optimism is like that's inching that direction. But yeah, Rod Wave.
Do you consider Rod Wave a rapper?
I haven't.
You've considered him a singer with rap cadences?
Yeah.
I think that's right, but he's a good rap. Like when he's putting words together that rhyme, like he's very good at it. He can flow, but I agree it's like 60-40 singer.
Yeah, I think his primary mode is melody, and it's not melody in the sense that like Young Thug's mode is melody. I think Rod Wave is like much more classically attached to like 4/4 structures. Like I think he's going from the line, the way that his syllables move is like much softer. He's less, I think he imposes a cadence onto words rather than imposes words onto a cadence.
Okay.
Which to me is where the line falls.
So the most popular Rod Wave song on the charts.
It's not. Is it the Turks and Caicos
right now?
record?
It's not actually.
Okay.
That's the
Great
second
Gatsby.
one. It is Great Gatsby, which I think is interesting for 2 reasons. One, it's called Great Gatsby, and the conceit is I threw a party for everyone, but it was only for you. Like that's a good. That's a good.
It's a good idea.
Summation of The Great Gatsby.
I threw the party of the century. The people came over, no one else sober, and it was all for you. It was all for you. I've been under this rock for so long. Don't let the world in. Close the door, don't let the world in. Let's go and hiding again. Rekindle our flame, like my fire.
Like, do we think that he's a Fitzgerald guy or a Baz Luhrmann guy? Or neither.
Or
a Wikipedia guy?
Yeah, probably movie. I'm gonna go movie. On that.
He could be a big Leo fan. You could see it.
Yeah.
You could see it.
Is this where we play the Leo rapping Dwick footage from TMZ?
Yes. Leo.
First of all, talk about Shade 4-5 listeners. Leonardo DiCaprio rapping Dwick as captured by TMZ. Like, definitely Shade 4-5 was playing in the truck on the way back to the house.
The other thing that I like about Great Gatsby, which I learned on TikTok, is that
About the book or the movie?
the song. The song.
Okay, yeah, go off.
Rodwave likes a sad sample. In
Yeah.
fact, this album, the first voice you hear on this album is Kelly Zutrow, a musician and friend of mine from Wet.
Yeah.
A sample from Wet is
Yeah.
like the opening bars on the Rodwave album, which like I never expected in
Did
my
it
life.
by Kelly Home Upstate?
I hope so.
Yeah.
And this one has something similar. So I was like, what is the sample from Great Gatsby? I didn't recognize it. And it turns out it's a girl who recorded as a vocal sample for a potential Rodwave song. She just she like
like a type sample?
It's a type sample. Yeah, it's a Rodwave type sample.
Where was it? Where did he find it?
I think like one of her
Like, people just, like,
producers,
sent
one of
it
his
to them.
producers like sourced like I need a vocal hook that I can like sample and make sad for Rodwave. So we'll play a little bit
Incredible.
of that. Yeah. This is like they got production down to a science.
Absolutely.
You know? Okay, couple other names on this chart. Sexyy Red. I want to talk about the sort of ceiling that we've seemed to run into for what is obviously a very rich and diverse crop of young female rappers.
Yeah.
Sexyy Red, of course, quite raunchy. It's part of the value.
Proposition.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
A lot of there's a term for this kind of rap that we're not going to say on the pod. A colloquial shorthand.
DM Joe for more.
Yeah, look, Sexyy Red, biggest rapper
Link
of the
in
year,
bio.
like biggest rising rapper of the year, maybe,
Yes.
arguably.
Yeah.
And yet, not that popular. Not on the Megan level, not on the Cardi level. Like, not
that's
achieving that sort of. Those women got crowned quite quickly, and yet for this next generation, we're not really seeing that
That's
upward
interesting.
mainstream momentum. It's a
That's-
much slower build. What's up
That's
with
interesting.
that?
I don't know if I agree. Certainly not as famous as Cardi. The Megan thing is interesting because I think I would venture to say that Sexyy Red is more popular than Megan Thee Stallion. Certainly right now.
Fine.
And maybe even at peak Megan Thee Stallion era outside of WAP, which is like a one of one sort of like astronomical thing that like really only happens once in any artist's career. I think there is a social and cultural ubiquity to Megan Thee Stallion, but not a musical ubiquity to Megan Thee Stallion.
Yes.
Whereas Sexyy Red has maybe the opposite thing, which is I think there is actually something of a musical ubiquity coming, which is to say, you know, as you predicted many, many, many weeks ago, Ski Yee becoming catchphrase and sports teams and so on and so forth. Obviously, Pound Town, huge viral hit, and I think is informing a tremendous amount of like online sentiment about
Yes.
Sexyy Red and awareness. I think so many people are aware of Sexyy Red, but Sexyy Red is not, I mean, outside of like going on Drake dates and doing, you know, I saw Sexyy Red at Irving Plaza recently. Very fun show. Sexyy Red is also pregnant and like maybe about to go off tour if she hasn't finished tour already to
Have
give
a baby.
birth
Yeah.
and take a few months off. I don't get the sense that whatever the kind of like celebrity, like the way that there is now a media ecosystem that takes young female rappers, especially like Ice Spice, for example. And Ice Spice is maybe the only counter argument to Sexyy Red.
Even though that feels like a million years ago.
It does feel like a million years. But there's an entire media ecosystem that's ready to do stories about Ice Spice or news blurbs or blog posts or whatever that Sexyy Red hasn't quite taken advantage of or hasn't quite hit Sexyy Red. It does feel like the hottest mixtape.
That's what I mean. It's like most like chart, like Sexyy peaked at number 17 on the hot R&B and hip hop
crazy
chart. That's
absolutely,
like
that's nuts.
there's a certain reticence to like, and maybe it's just because she's gonna wait until the album comes out and they'll sand down a couple of the edges and whatever. But it's like when we're talking about this lack of sort of momentum and mainstream crossover star, and maybe it's just that someone like Sexyy Red doesn't need that.
But Sexyy Red's success reminds me a lot of like, let's call it like Kodak Black's success in like the mid to late 2010s. And like if you had said to me in like 2017, someday Kodak Black will be doing like editorial features in European fashion magazines, I'd have been like, you sure, bro? You sure about that? But I was literally just on Instagram over the weekend, and Office Magazine, which is like very forward thinking, but like Office Magazine there's like behind the scenes footage of a Kodak Black shoot from an Office Magazine. And I'm like, it took 6 years. It took whatever had to happen to get Kodak to a place where he was ready to do that. Maybe Sexyy Red's fame is more that, where it remains ubiquitous amongst the faithful and the most like astute and the astute followers. But maybe that mainstream thing is something that she wants to keep at bay, or it will happen eventually. Whereas I thought Megan got kind of like mainstreamed up into that very, very fast, but the music didn't always follow.
I do think it's actually beneficial that some of these young women in rap like build careers and have hits that come on the back of these careers, as opposed to having one huge hit and then everything else falling somewhere under that. Like, I think this is a healthier way to build a career, the Sexyy Red model.